and we will be providing access to a version of this recording to everybody who attends today's session. Today we're going to be covering the topic of what it looks like to develop a full PMO life cycle and a communication strategy using some of the Microsoft Core Office 365 and Project Online applications. Quick run through of our agenda today. We'll begin and we're going to start by talking a little bit about some of the overall process challenges we're finding that organizations face as they're looking at automating some different parts of their PMO life cycle. We'll then move into an overview of how you can use some of the core tools in the Office 365 suite, as well as Microsoft Project Online, which is also delivered through Office 365, to automate and integrate these tools together for improved visibility, insight, and controls over your entire portfolio, program, and PMO lifecycle. Finally, we'll wrap up with a talk about deployment. How do you take these PMO processes and take them to the next level? We'll share some good practices and experience having done this for multiple clients in the space. We do have one more upcoming webinar in our spring series coming up on Tuesday, June 11th. We'll be focused on ways you can successfully forecast resource utilization and capacity using the Microsoft Project Online and Power BI suite. And all of our webinars are based off of your feedback, so when we do send you surveys after the sessions, we hope you will provide us guidance as to what's important to you, what some of your hot topics are, and then we try to craft our webinars based off of that. As with all of our webinars, they are all available online on our Vimeo channel in our album 528-8659. We'll send out a link to this as well, and you'll see links to about a dozen different recorded topics, everything from integration to best practices around deployment to the overall Microsoft PPM, Power BI, and Office 365 platform. So hopefully this series provides some value to you and your organization. Before we jump into our content, a little bit about Fragility. We are a specialized consulting firm that focuses on PPM and Microsoft Office 365 and Power BI, located in Chevy Chase, Maryland, with offices across the country. We've been recognized by Microsoft, Gartner, and lots of other analysts out there. We focus really on successful PMO and project and portfolio management lifecycle deployments. Clients often come to us when they have a hard time explaining what's going on across all their projects. They don't often know what resources are working on what projects, and they can't get consistent reporting and metrics out in an automated way. They tend to lean on Fragility. We do have 3 different practice areas and lots of sample clients across different industries, everything from consumer products to financial services to energy and biotechnology. We do a lot of work in the public sector, state and local, as well as federal government space as well. And we do have service and solutions, deployment and consulting services, assisting clients with planning and deploying Microsoft PPM, Project Online, integrating this with line of business systems, Jira, version 1, ServiceNow, SAP, ERP. I have a Power BI practice that has been growing, driving analytics across multiple data sources beyond Project Online, as well as PMO consulting and staffing. We do offer software-based solutions. These are add-ons to the Microsoft PPM solution suite that provide a data warehouse for offline access to all of your data, a Power BI report and data analytics package, as well as a migration tool that assists with migrating from on-premise to online. And finally, we do provide ongoing support services should your PMO need assistance with support around your PPM solution, staffing your PMO, as well as providing ongoing training services. So think of us really as a trusted partner in this space. But let's focus really on our content today. And within PMOs, we find there's a common business problem. Most PMOs, when they are initiated or they are emerging, they put a process in place. They begin with establishing the core framework for initiation, for planning, for project execution and closeout, and have all the different activities and resources and technologies related to do all this. But PMOs, as we find, of all shapes and shapes and sizes, first they establish these standard processes and procedures. Then they go down the road of automating some of this using different tools. And what we find in most PMOs is these tools are disconnected. You're trying to really support a single life cycle and a single process, and you've really got 3 different systems. You've got a system that manages all of your process documentation and provides guidance to your end users. Think of it as really your process guides. You then have a place where you're going to go to do training and learning, and often that is in a 3rd system that does learning management. So how do PMs learn the processes you're going to be putting in place and learn a lot more about the tools? And most often, enterprises have a PPM system that is housing all of their data, and that can be data on their projects, on their portfolios, on their programs, and on their resources, as well as their activities and tasks and milestones, and everything that's going on during the project lifecycle that's driving their performance management and decision making. And if we look at it, really, PMOs need an integrated, consolidated approach to this and a consolidated set of tools that are easy to use, easy to integrate, and easy to access. And that's really what it's all about, is making project management easier for the people no matter what their role in the organization, beginning with your project managers. So we always start with what's the business problem, and integrating data and having a single system for all this is typically one of the biggest problems we see out there. When we start breaking this down, if we look at an overall PMO life cycle or project or program management life cycle, we can break it up, and yours can be, some variants of this, but we have initiation, we have planning, we have execution, controls, and closure. And if we start breaking down each of those life cycle stages or phases, there's different activities and different milestones and different deliverables and different actions that are happening. For instance, if we're going to develop a business case, that can be a document, a Word document. It can be data that's collected in your PPM system or some kind of a combination of both. Maybe as a second part of that, we're going to undertake some kind of a feasibility study. Why do we want to do a specific project? Again, that can be a document, it can be a data, or some kind of a combination. Same goes for a project charter. Is that a document that gets created? Is that a template? Or is it data going into a PPM system? Then we start looking at things like the project team, and that's where we're starting to evolve people. That can be data in a PPM system. It can be resources, human, material, capital, cost resources, that are going to work and track projects. It can be roles in a PPM system, or it can be some kind of a resource forecast. It's something we talk about, so it's different from the three that are above. We also want to have formal setup for the project and the project office, which is more of a structural or a procedural or process step. And finally, we're going to do things like a phase review. We're going to have structure and process around what we do. So if we think about it, within the 6 or 7 different activities within project initiation, we have different types of information, different steps, different processes, and different structures. And what does all this mean? So when we look across the PMO today, we find there are typically 3 different types of technology that are being used to manage this type of information. And often you have one process that's across 3 different systems. An example of that is in our PMO Portal. Most organizations we work with have a PMO Portal that's built in SharePoint naturally. It's an easy-to-use technology. It has integrated PMO Portal types of functionality where we can store our project templates for things like charters and status reports. We have standard process documents that are stored there as well. Maybe we have initiation and planning control, the workflow diagrams that we would typically want people following as they go through your project management lifecycle. They're stored there. We have process guidance, kind of a cookbook on how we're going to follow different processes and procedures, stored there. We also have some kinds of training materials or documentation. So a PMO Portal is generally heavy on documentation when people want to go out and get a document and read it, learn from it, or use it as a template to take on a certain part of the project management lifecycle. Within a PPM system, the middle work stream here, that's where we're doing things like project intake, project demand management, tracking of our projects. We're also going to do our resource assignment, alignment, allocation, and work tracking. Often timesheets come out of our PPM system or are integrated with them from a financial system. We do our status reporting from our PPM system, which may be pulled from the templates you see at the left or a template that's built into our PPM system based off of data or documentation. We're also going to track our issues and do our active risk management in the PPM tool, and that drives to our status reporting and gets shared with different team members. We're going to do our day-to-day project collaboration in our PPM system, leveraging, again, people, process, and technology. And finally, we're going to be tracking performance and doing performance reporting and dashboards in our PPM system. So you can see our PPM system is really the single source of data or truth as it relates to how our performance is going and the activities that are happening across our projects. The third work stream is that of a learning management system. And in most enterprises we work with, they do training in a different group. In fact, training is typically owned by a different group. When we go in to train trainers on this, we're often not only training the PMO, we're training corporate trainers. So when they onboard a new project manager, that training group is then responsible for training that project manager. Then that project manager gets onboarded to the PMO. They get localized training from the PMO. But that is often in a different system. We have a learning management system. That's where we have our PM process training, any recorded tool training around that as well. So if we start to look at it, we really have 3 systems of record really to support one common process. And that becomes a big challenge when you bring new people in, or you have people that have to go to 3 different places to find similar information on the same process. So again, 3 systems, 1 purpose. At the end of the day, we really want to improve our ability to plan and deliver on projects. So why not have an integrated tool set that does all of this? So the good news is most people already use core Microsoft tools in Office and 365 to do this stuff. From a PMO Portal perspective, we find a lot of organizations are using SharePoint, Word documents for different document templates, Visio diagrams for process flows, and different kinds of training materials that are often in PowerPoint or Word. Our PPM system is most popularly using Project Online, the cloud-based Microsoft PPM solution, as well as Power BI to do our performance dashboards, integrated SharePoint in to do our project collaboration and issue and risk management and status reporting using Power BI and SSRS. And on the right-hand side, learning management, that's often in a different system. A lot of folks don't think of Microsoft as a provider for integrated learning management systems, and typically they're not. But there are some great technologies that are out there now within the Office 365 suite that can support ongoing day-to-day training for your PMs, whether they're trying to follow a process or trying to follow different or use different tools. So what we wanted to do at this point is actually give you a what if. What if you could effectively combine these three core functional areas in your PMO into a single integrated tool set and platform? What would that look like? All within the Office 365 suite, all leveraging some of the core Microsoft tools. So what we wanted to do is help you paint this vision for what's possible, and the next step is we're actually going to go into a demonstration and show you what a current state might look like and what a potential future state might look like to help you envision the possible here. So now we're going to jump into our demonstration. I'm going to give you some examples of what this looks like today for most organizations and what it could look like going forward. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up what a typical PPM system looks like in Microsoft Project Online. Most people don't do a lot of customization around PPM. They like to keep it kind of as is and use the flavors that are built in. So this is Project Online's homepage, where you can see things are organized by your projects, your activities, your timesheets, your issues and risks. Think of it as really functionally based, as well as everything is in one place. All of your dashboards, your business strategy, your project intake. And then if we start drilling into different PMO or site portals, those are typically within SharePoint, where we have site templates or PMO templates, where we're storing and tracking documentation, deliverables, vendor information, project conversations. Again, these are connected in a way in our PPM system, but not at a higher level. Typically, someone has to go in and find the document in a portal and insert it, or it gets automatically inserted in SharePoint. So you can see we have PPM, we have SharePoint, and then we have other technology sitting on top of it to do learning. Kind of painting that picture of what if, we're going to go into an Office 365 environment that is really more future state. And the first area we're going to go to is our PPM solution. What if, when we went into Project Online, our PPM or PWA homepage was more process-centric? Drove people through learning a process and following a process versus looking at projects or looking at tasks or looking at resources. So how we're going to do that is we're essentially going to break our application into two different areas. We have our PMO homepage, which is here in our landing page, which is really going to be, kind of think of it as our PMO portal integrated into our PPM system. This is typically in SharePoint, and it's going to give us a view into our life cycle, so we can very quickly understand our project or portfolio management life cycle. It's going to give us access, quick and easy access, to any common templates we would want to access within and across our projects before we even get started. It's going to give us access to different activities that are going on across the PMO, whether it's PMO meetings, whether it's status, whether it's all hands meetings, whatever they are in one place, and provide us quick links to more information about the site or the page or other information. So really this is typically owned by the PMO. What's unique about this is if we look at the left-hand side, if we looked at the old PWA or how it was organized initially out of the box, it's not very process-centric. It's more around projects and resources. It's about functions. We can reorganize our quick launch in PWA into our lifecycle phases that map those over here in our PM lifecycle. For example, maybe we start with project initiation. That's where we can go and submit a new idea, or submit a new project request, or even submit a resource request. The user comes in and it's much more natural for them to follow the process you have outlined and the steps behind it, following a standard life cycle. As we go through project or portfolio selection, here's all the things a PMO would need to go through behind the scenes before you get to project planning and execution. So this could be visible maybe only to your PMO, who's going to do the analysis between the initiation and the planning phases of your life cycle. Following from that, we're going to have project planning and execution. We're going to see your project activities, submit your time, approve time coming from team members, look at a roll-up of your projects, and also do your active resource management. And then, during the life cycle of a project, we're going to do monitoring control. This is where we're going to have different dashboards and reports and access to our PMO standards and processes. So what we're trying to do is integrate everything into a single user interface so it makes it easy. You don't go to a separate portal in your PPM system. And finally, we'll get into training as well. At the top of our page, you see we have access to our project home. We have direct access to those underlying PMO templates right from our PPM system, Project Online, as well as access to our library of all of our training videos. And we're going to leverage different technology for that as well. But just to kind of get started, as a new user would come into this new portal, they would log in and they'd be able to learn more about the process. So instead of having a process guide that's a document that someone would look through 50 pages in a Word document or a very long Visio, what we can do is we can enable this using Visio Online, which comes with SharePoint Online and Office 365. So for instance, maybe I, as a project manager, want to just get a refresher on the initiation process. I would simply click on that graphic, and then it's going to take me into a Visio Online diagram that details the overall project initiation process for me. So I'm taking the process diagrams I have, and I'm actually automating those using Visio Online right in Office 365. I can see in this process I've got different workflows, a sponsor, a PMO, an executive and portfolio manager. And in this, we're going to follow a process where a project initiation starts, we identify an opportunity, we create a project request. I kind of understand that process, but then when I get to project complexity, maybe I don't know very much about that. I want to learn, how do we score project complexity in our enterprise? What I'd be able to do is click on that, and again, using integrated Visio Online and SharePoint Online, now I get the full guide of how we rate project complexity. So this shows me what a work order is, elapsed time, number of FTEs, total effort and budget, small, medium, and large project, how we classify these things. So even before I go and put in a project request in my project online system, I know which project request type I'm going to be choosing based off of the size or scope of a project. We're also going to be able to get more information, such as what's the complexity rating system we're using? What do we rate it based off of? And that's going to drive my portfolio scoring of the potential project. Total cost, what are our different budget thresholds, and how do we actually rank those based off of large, medium, small, all the way down, as well as from a time duration, greater than 3 months, 2 to 12 weeks. Again, this would be based off of your standards that are typically designed in a document that's part of your PM process guide. But what we're doing is we're providing quick and easy access at the point of reference. So a PM or someone requesting a project knows exactly how to rank these things with directed guidance. We're using Office 365, SharePoint Online, and Visio Online, as we showed you before, to guide us through this process. And that project initiation and that entire workflow is really built based off of your process. And these are all live links into your decision criteria, even over to your PPM system. So if I were to go back, and maybe I want to know a little more about planning, again, another process we have. I've got another project coming up where I need to do more detailed planning. I see the project lifecycle here, where I'm reviewing stage gates, getting ready for a stage gate review, assigning a project manager, creating a project schedule. Or if I wanted to go and see what a draft project schedule would look like, I would just hover over that, click on that, and now it's actually going to take me to a definition of a project plan. It takes me into the actual document that is a template that's stored in the underlying PMO portal. So these links can link to steps in the process, pages in PWA, so you can go initiate and plan and control and report on your project, or even directly to document templates that are out there. We can create dynamic links using Visio Online, SharePoint Online, Office, and the rest of the Office 365 suite. It's a really nice way to think about automating your process, and also it's very easy to understand. A project manager doesn't have to go and read an entire guide to learn how to go through the process. It's actually self-automated in the tool. So that's one of the really nice things about automating your process using Office 365. You can embed it all in one common homepage where people learn everything about your process, and then as they want to go through their PPM lifecycle, maybe it's time to submit a new project request. Really easy. I understand what that is. I come in here, it takes me to a link, and now I can select the type of project I want to request, and it kicks off the project initiation process. I want to start a software development project. I click Next, and then all the criteria that was determined on a software development project now fills in my request form. So we're fully automating that process and guiding people through it based off the process you have in play, not necessarily how the tool is designed to share that. Let's go back to project here. We're going to get back to our project online homepage, and it's going to take us into PWA again. And you can see the nice thing about this is going to take us through this process, whether we're doing prioritization, resource planning, and resource utilization, where we can go in and look at specific resource capacity graphs. Down here to active resource management, or dashboards and reports. I go to Dashboard Center and I want to do a little performance tracking. All I need to do is click on that. And what it's going to do, it's going to take me into Power BI. And Power BI is where I'm going to have access to all of my dashboards and reports. And now right here, it immediately takes me to the right Power BI report, my portfolio view. Or maybe I want to run a project status report. I select the project status I want, I select the project I want to report off of, and now I've got all the data on that project already populating. I'm always 2 clicks away from the information I need to report off of. And this is fully integrated with Office 365, so if I wanted to take the status report, and I can export it to a PDF, export it to a PowerPoint, I can even go and subscribe and say, you know what, share the status report with these people every week, every Monday at 9 a.m. and put it in their inbox. So I'm using email in Office 365, Outlook, Exchange Online, and I'm using tools like PowerPoint Online as well as Power BI to do all of my dashboarding and reporting. It's really a nice way to drive standardization across your organization. Additionally, if I wanted to do any kind of extended reporting, I have reporting tools that are built in as well. So I've got my dashboards here. Maybe I want to do integrated reports within the tool too. It's going to take me over to my report center. And now from here, you're going to see a landing page will come up. It's got all of my standard reports, and my report templates are here as well. So maybe I want to run a standard project status report, or a report that shows me all the tasks I have in progress, or my milestones. I would simply click on that. It's going to spin up a report. And in a second here, you'll see actually on my screen, I'll be able to run a very specific status report against one or multiple projects I have. I can come down here and select the project I want to report off of. I click View Report. And now my status report generates right here on my page for me in about 5 seconds. And now I'm doing integrated status reporting, moving project managers away from looking for documents, filling in data, actually going and selecting a status report, running that, and then they can take that status report and, again, using Office 365, export that to a PowerPoint, to a PDF, maybe a Word document, and share that around. Or I can automatically subscribe to these, and they can send these out and put it in end users' email boxes every Monday. Also put it on the SharePoint site, the collaboration site, for that particular project. So we're doing integrated status reporting here right from within Project Online as well. Again, 1 click away to get to all the information you need and all the type of reports and dashboard you need to do. So that's all coming from our PWA homepage, integrated with SharePoint Online and Visio Online. Finally, if we wanted to go and really drill in and get more information about our detailed processes, as we showed you before with these shapes, we can go to the full PMO portal. I would simply click on PMO processes here. I'm just going to open in a new tab. And now we have the full PMO portal. And this is where we're going to have more information about the detailed phases, the different roles in our organization, what do project managers do versus resource managers versus team members. Our templates are all stuck here as well. And we also have integrated training. So one of the nice things is this really guides the user through self-use of the tool. But if we wanted to integrate training in, you see we have a link here for training videos. And one of the real powers of using video is it enables people to do self-service. So what we've done is we've created a video library that has all the different training videos a project manager would need to go in and do things like understand how resources work. When I'm setting up a project team, what do I do? And what's the process look like? How do I build a team calendar or a project calendar using Microsoft Project? Or what's the process we use to create a work breakdown structure? We use training videos anywhere from 4 to 15 minutes in length so end users can actually reach out and look up information themselves. Self-service is huge in this day and age of providing video-based training. This is all using a technology called Stream. So all I would need to do is I want to learn more about setting up a project team. I would click on that. And then a video is going to be running here, as well as it'll have a transcript to the right of that entire video. So Microsoft Stream actually takes the text that's within the video and makes it available here in the transcript, and I can search for things, requirements, or creation, and it'll find that in the text. And it'll actually recommend other videos, which you can subscribe to. You can actually post comments on this as well. This was a great video. I want to share this with other people. You can add it to your watch list. You can like it, and then you can share it with other people as well and say, hey, you've got to come out and look at this video. It's fantastic. It really helped me learn a lot more about setting up a project team. Again, embedding this using Office 365 tools, this is all something that typically most clients own through their Office 365 E3 and E5 subscription. And those are some of the ways you can start to use a combination of Project Online, SharePoint Online, and the Office 365 suite. Obviously, there can be different flavors of this. If you think about your own PM lifecycle, your own PM phases, the different activities you want to enable within your project, your PPM system, your Project Online system, and the type of reporting. But this is a pretty good structural start to give you a feeling for what's possible using some of these tools. And finally, the tool a lot of folks have been asking about a lot about is Microsoft Teams. How do I use Teams to access this type of information? Teams is becoming a lot more popular across most enterprises. We find a lot of organizations are setting up Teams sites for each project, like the health assessment reporting. That's a specific project we have. We can track all the conversations that are going on across that project, whether it's in a planner plan, someone saw a Microsoft Power BI report they liked, maybe they're using Azure DevOps and they're really integrating that in this as well. We could pull in some of those dashboards and reports from Power BI. So think of Teams really as a nice wrapper on top of all of this content that makes it quick and easy to spin up meetings, to collaborate on information, to drill in and out of data. And then you can drill into this content and data right here from within Teams. You can provide a view. A lot of people are looking for integration with Azure DevOps. A view into your Azure DevOps project for this specific project. This will come up here in a second. And now we can see the user stories, the iterations and the sprints that are going on, what's new, what's active and been resolved, as well as direct access to the underlying site documents or shared documents that are within that project's team site, stored in Project Online and SharePoint Online. Very well organized. It's all in one place. It's the same data, so it's very easy to access this, as well as maybe a team wiki or a blog or some reports you may be running here as well, or even integrating OneNote into this too. So we can use Teams really as a nice communications tool and a wrapper around all the stuff that's going on within all the tools we showed you today. And Teams is becoming very, very popular with most organizations, really as a replacement for Skype, as a great meeting technology, collaboration technology, a place to store and access information you can spin up very, very quickly. So if you start thinking about it, it's really about choosing the right tools for the job. Within your PMO portal, you used SharePoint before. You migrate that into a SharePoint Online environment. You incorporate some of your standard process documents and guidance and make it a lot more interactive using tools like Visio down at the bottom. Word documents for specific templates you have for different types of documents you have in the system, and then integrating your training materials in using Microsoft Stream. Your PPM system is going to support all of the data that's being captured in the system, intake, resource management, status reporting, day-to-day collaboration and performance management, and that's where tools like Project Online, Power BI, Teams, OneNote, and especially Outlook for your email communications, keeping people notified and in touch with what's going on. And in terms of your learning management system, we're not suggesting replacing your LMS, we're really suggesting augmenting it with more just-in-time types of training videos that allow the project manager to quickly and easily, one quick way, understand what they need to do and how they need to do it. It does not replace full days of training and actual training, but it's a great place to take snippets of that or purchase training libraries like the ones we showed you today and insert them into better learn and enable your project managers to do their jobs. So it's all about choosing the right tools for the job, and if you look, most organizations already own these tools. So really, what's the value of an integrated solution in this area? The first thing we find is it reduces costs. The cost around people going to multiple systems, managing multiple systems, and actually paying for multiple licenses across different systems. It's going to help you consolidate all your data into a single integrated platform that you can then report off. We showed you some of the dashboards and reports that allow you to roll that information up instead of having it in 3 different places. It's also going to make data and content discoverable, and that means search is enabled. Anything that's in Office 365 through SharePoint Online and Project Online, as well as those videos we show you, it's all searchable content with metadata. So if I want to look up every time someone discussed requirements or design or on a specific project had specific content, it's great because it's fully integrated in and you could click search, look for it, it's going to pull up all the data and content related to that in one place. You don't have to go 2 or 3 places to find it. It's also going to reduce the overhead of multiple applications. We found a lot of organizations have 3 or 4 systems to support one business process, and a lot of the data is actually kept offline. Spreadsheets for resource planning, project management or project schedules that are standalone or not in a PPM system. Data is in SharePoint, financial information somewhere else. Why not consolidate it all and have a single set of applications to really bring it all together? It's also going to streamline your licensing. The majority of what we showed you today is available through Office 365's E3 and E5 SKUs or licenses that you may already own. We talked about Visio Online, SharePoint Online, PowerPoint Online, Power BI, you may have the base license there. Project Online, which is an add-on license to that as well. Tools like Stream are integrated into E3 and E5 as well. So it's going to make licensing this as you bring new users into the organization a lot simpler. It's also going to simplify, most importantly, the user experience. As a project manager, I know I go to one place to get all the information. I don't have 3 different portals, 2 different training centers, and a bunch of documents that I need to access. It's all in one place, and it's all centric around the data. The data you're capturing in your PPM system, which is going to drive your performance management, and then wrapping around that all the content that we talked about from a process and procedure and training perspective. It's also going to help you, importantly, report across your entire portfolio. No longer is data in multiple places, it's in one system, and it allows aggregated tracking, reporting, and dashboards much, much easier. Almost most importantly, it helps you focus on the business result you're trying to put in place. Why did you put a PMO in place? To improve project and program delivery, to provide trustworthy project delivery to your business customers, not focus on implementing 4 or 5 systems and standing up servers and having IT support that whole thing. It's really about getting the business results in your PMO and focusing that. And that's why having an integrated solution makes a lot of sense. Additionally, what we showed you today is all cloud-based. So we're not talking about any technical infrastructure required. If you need a data warehouse for your project online data to run some SQL reporting services reports, that can be put in Azure, and it's all stored and managed in the Azure cloud. Everything else we showed you today is all available through the Office 365 cloud today. So there's no infrastructure required, very limited technology skills are required. It's much more about implementing and designing the business process and partnering with the right folks. So hopefully you see there's a lot of value in going with an integrated solution. And if you would like some more information or assistance with building a business case around this, feel free to reach out to us. So, from a deployed and deployment best practices, some different things we've learned. The first one is you don't need a fully baked PMO process to get started. In fact, most of the organizations we work with that put off putting the system like this in place until they have a process end up never doing it. They end up automating very little because they end up spending a year or 2 developing processes that never get actually adopted. So our recommendation is don't wait until your processes are fully mature. Actually design your processes in alignment with your PPM solution and all the other collaborative technology around it. Otherwise, you risk rework. If I design a process, and then I come back and I implement a PPM system, and then I have to go and implement a PMO portal, and then I want to develop training materials, and then I want to automate my process, you're talking years of work there. But if we do it lined up, you can do this over a 6 to 12-month period and really get really far in not a short amount of time. We recommend highly doing these together to make sure you have alignment between the people, the process, the technology, and also your approach to training and retraining people on an ongoing basis. That's really the key to driving user adoption. Remember that Microsoft tools, the ones we showed you today, they can handle 95% or sometimes more of an organization's requirements with standard planning configuration. We're not talking about customizing tools in any way. If you've gone down the road of customizing a SharePoint tool to track your project information, you can back that out and move into more of an integrated environment like the one we showed you today. The Microsoft tools are really designed to be a platform that supports standard procedure and standard processes using configuration in the tool, not customization. And finally, a recommendation from us, we recommend you partner for success with people that have been successful at this, with successful partners. Bring companies in, Fragility, that have done this kind of work that can help you align your people, your process, your technology, align all the training, and drive user adoption. So if we can provide you any other guidance around this, really pick a good partner that works and is a good cultural fit for your organization that has a good technology background. But not only that, they really understand the PMO and the PM process side of it that can bring those two worlds together. The technology without the process is of very little value. Likewise, the process without any kind of automation doesn't give you the information to make performance-related decisions. So those two things really need to go together. So at this point, we're going to open the floor to any Q&A and questions people might have. Remind everybody that we do have some upcoming webinars. One is on successfully forecasting resource utilization coming up in June. And all the sessions we have today are recorded on our Vimeo channel, 528-8659. You can contact us if you do need help with planning your transformation program, maybe designing and implementing a solution like this. We do accept deployment planning services from Microsoft that gives us actually funding to help come in and do a high-level plan and assessment to come up with a good solution for you, as well as some of the add-on products we have, Hammerhead, as well as our core solution offerings to help you plan and migrate to Project Online. With that, I'm going to stop our recording here. And I put up our contact information on the screen. I'm Rob Hirschman, partner with Fragility.